Back on Morning Line with us, Beth Joslin Roth. She is with us this morning talking about gun legislation, Safe Tennessee Project. As we've said, Governor Lee is looking at a plan to make it so that law-abiding citizens older than 21 years of age can conceal carry without a permit. That would change things. They could just buy a gun and then carry it with them. As it stands now, if you want to do that, you need to get a background check and go through some level of training. And so let's see. We will go next to Leon. Good morning, Leon. What's on your mind? Hi, Leon.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
Good.
I was just calling to say that the people who are leaving the guns in the cars, almost like they're doing it purposely, because at this point, everybody looks at the news every day and know these guns are getting stolen. And to maintain that you would need your gun, personally, when you get out your car, it wouldn't be to leave it in your car. If you toting a gun, why would you leave it in the car anyway? You would need your protection. So I'm kind of led to think that they're doing this on purpose. Well, the legislation that the governor is trying to do, that's just straight up trying to please the NRA, and it's like a fear factor too. They got people running around here in fear. They look at the news and see what's going on. And now he's just trying to make it into a wild, wild west. He's making a bad situation even worse. And to me, just living here all these years, I've been here quite a number of years, Nashville just as bad as Memphis.
Okay, well, and it may be getting that way. As far as, why do you think people leave the guns in their cars? Because I don't think they're intentionally doing it, because no one wants to lose an expensive gun they paid money for, so they're not leaving it there purposely for someone to steal.
Well,
why
two things. Number one, these are just the numbers of guns that have been reported stolen.
Right,
we don't even have a requirement in this state to report a stolen gun, so there are probably even more being stolen.
Not probably, there are.
There are, absolutely. I think the reason that people do it is a lot of people are careless. I mean, that's just a fact of life. A lot of people are careless. And when it comes to guns, whether it is thinking that, everybody thinks it's never going to happen to them.
Okay.
Everybody thinks my gun's not going to get stolen. Everybody thinks my kid's going to go to school and not get shot. Everybody thinks my neighborhood is safe. Everybody thinks no one in my family's going to use a gun to kill themselves.
But that's true, then why are you hauling the gun with you if you really think that?
Well, I don't have an answer for. What we know, and the police chief in Memphis, he said this. He's like, what if your issue is that you feel like you need a gun to defend yourself? How is that gun helping you defend yourself if you're leaving it in your vehicle? Now, what the other side would say to that is that people are leaving them in their vehicle because there are places that prohibit them and have these requirements for permits, so we should just get rid of permits and allow everybody to carry guns everywhere, and then people wouldn't leave them in the car.
Well, and that's right. That's the other side of the coin that some may say, because there are laws. If you don't have a permit to carry concealed and you drive to work and you park down the road, taking that gun with you, if your workplace allows you to have the weapon, just walking along the street, you're basically violating the law if you don't have a permit, so you leave it in your car. So that could be one. I see. All right. Interesting conversation on that. Let's go next to Bob. Bob, good morning. Hi, Bob.
Oh, how are we doing? I agree with what you're saying about the car and stuff, but they ought to have a legislation on leaving it in the car, too. And I'm sorry, if you leave a gun out with kids are going to play with guns. You can't stop it. I mean, you've got to have legislation on that too.
Aren't there some laws, and it's kind of separate a bit, but you leave a gun out in your house, and I forget what the law, it's named after this one girl where Michaela's law, right. And whether you prosecute on that. It hasn't passed. Now, one reason is they say there's laws on the books where if you leave a gun out in the open and your 3-year-old picks it up and shoots himself in the head, well, that's an aggravated neglect charge right off the bat, probably.
No, it's not.
Well, it could be.
It could be, but it's often not. And that's sort of the problem, is that there's a lot of gray areas. So what you have is different DAs, different law enforcement departments taking a different tack on that. So in that situation that you described, that could happen, and in one jurisdiction, the adult gun owner could be prosecuted. There could be a variety of charges brought against them. In another jurisdiction, exact same scenario,
maybe not.
It's considered a tragic accident.
So that's why you need a Michaela's law maybe in place to
and that's
uniform.
What the DA, the first time we brought the legislation, a DA was called sort of impromptu, who happened to be in the hearing room at the time, and he spoke to that. He said, this would be a good law to have because there's a lot of ambiguity. Now, relative to firearms, there have already been 2 shootings this year in Tennessee involving children who were in a car where there was an unsecured firearm. They picked the firearm up and shot themselves or someone else with it. So this idea, you know, bringing guns into cars, I mean, there are a lot of issues with it if you're not locking the gun up properly. You know, you have a gun and it's wedged in your car, or it's just over in that little pocket by the driver's side door. You run in to pay for your gas, or you run into the market to grab something, you leave your kids in the car.
That's what happened. I think it was a woman went in and left it, and the gun was in her purse, and
the kids
a couple
get a
little
hold
kids
of
in
it.
it, and they grab it. I mean, that's just
Yes.
mind-boggling that you could be that irresponsible.
And see, and that goes back to what we were saying before. Nobody ever thinks it's going to happen to them until it does.
And then when it does, it's usually
a horrible tragedy.
Let's go to Tom. Tom, good morning. Hi, Tom.
Hey, good morning, Nick. How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I was sitting here listening for a while about this gun control thing, and you know, these people leaving guns in cars, I don't agree with that, because that's intimidating too many people to cause a gun to be stolen. And my opinion is, if they go carry a gun, you know, when I was a kid, you can carry your gun in the back window, the shotgun, whatever. You didn't have to worry about people stealing it. But, you know, you kept your vehicle locked up. But now I think these little safety gun things they give you to lock your guns, they got a little cable on them. Why can't people take those? If they have to leave their guns in the car, put that cable around the bottom of the seat, piece of metal, and a gun, and lock it where it cannot be taken out.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a bunch of ways that you can reasonably, without too much of a headache, secure your weapon.
Well, I mean, let's just start with locking the door. Let's just start with putting the gun in a glove box and not leaving it on the seat,
blatantly out there.
I mean, those are good starts, but he's right. I mean, you know, there are cable locks you can get if that's too complicated. They actually make safes that you can get
just be bolted to the floor
your
and just
car.
pop it in there.
But really, I mean, just locking it in a glove box in a locked car is going to be a serious deterrent. What we see time and time again is people not doing that. These gun thefts. I mean, the Metro Police Department, they put out a press release every single week now.
Oh, I know.
And they list the number of, you know, how many guns were stolen and how many were stolen from unlocked cars.
And I think it's every 2 weeks, I think.
It's weekly. We
Is
update
it weekly now? Okay, because I look at that and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
It's mind-blowing.
It's like 60%, 80% of the cars stolen were left with the keys in the ignition.
Yes.
Like, well, really? No one deserves to be a victim, don't get me wrong, but being that stupid, you're going to get sometimes what you deserve.
And the stupidity often leads to people being hurt, which is the biggest
who wants to have
problem.
your car stolen? Why would you leave your keys in the car? Let's go to Dan. Dan, good morning. Hi, Dan.
Good morning. I have a question, a comment and a question. If this everybody carry passage, will a concealed carry permit go away?
Okay.
And the reason I ask that is right now my concealed carry permit works in most states that surround Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. My concealed carry permit is good in Georgia and Florida. If this carry goes, I mean, if it goes, everybody can carry, will the concealed carry law still be in place where I'll still, if I want to, keep my permit, so I'll be legal in other states?
That's a great question. Real quick.
So, for right now, as we discussed, we have currently 2 permits, okay, that you can get.
And they would still be there if this passes,
They would still be there if this passes. However, the concealed carry permit, the new permit that was passed last year, that does not have the reciprocity that the enhanced gun permit does.
Okay, so you need to make sure which one you're getting.
So you need to make sure which one you're getting. And then, of course, the permitless, I mean, there is no reciprocity for that because most states do not. Most states require a permit. And so, but it creates a lot of confusion. So now what we're going to have is potentially two different types of permits. They carry different reciprocity arrangements with different states, but then also this permitless option, which is no
obviously
background
is not
checks,
going to work someplace
which
else.
is not going to work somewhere else. There also seems to be some question about where the permitless, if you're carrying permitless, where you can carry. Are you going to be able to carry on college campuses? Are you going to be able to carry, you know, in bars and restaurants? Are you going to be able to carry all the same places? Unless it's posted.
Okay, yeah. So
but if you're 21 and up, then you're potentially, how does that impact college campuses?
Do you think it's at all safe to say that if they were to pass, the people that maybe seek the permitless gun just go and do it themselves, but then on their own still go get themselves the training that you should have?
I mean, I think some will, but I think many won't. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, let's think about it, right? If you're going to give someone a free option and not require them to take any time out of their day to take a class or even sit in front of a computer for 90 minutes, even have to complete any paperwork, I mean, people tend to opt for the path of least resistance. And so there will be some that will get training, and that's great, but there will be many who won't, and that is what is concerning. I mean, especially in a state like ours where, you know, we have a lot of unintentional shootings. I mean, when you look at the unintentional shooting injuries in our state and how they've gone up over the last several years, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And these are unintentional shootings. These are people that are not clearing the chamber before they clean their gun. These are people that, you know, drop their gun and the gun fires and shoots them or someone else.
It's interesting. When you have a show like this where we get into the details, you get the sense that, you know, rational Second Amendment supporters and gun owners think, okay, probably not the best idea. But lawmakers, you know, if they vote against this, not only could face the ire of the NRA, but also could be painted by some without going into the details that they're anti-gun. And it's crazy. Politically speaking, this sucker's probably going to pass.
I think that it probably will, and that is, you know, that's going to be unfortunate. What we've seen is for the last 10 years, a loosening of gun laws and an increase in every single category of gun violence.
Call your lawmaker. Beth Roth. Thank you.
Always great to be here. Thanks, Nick.
Be back to wrap things up right after this.